for this short icebreaker. What I will ask you to do is to write into the chat box one message. The message will actually contain two parts of information. One is about you and one is about your surroundings. So what I will ask you to do is to share how do you feel in this moment in one word. Okay, so you can write I feel awesome, I feel really good, I feel great, I feel curious, or so on. And then just add it is sunny where I am now, it is cloudy, or it is rainy. We already know it is quite rainy in Ljubljana, but we want to know how the weather is like in the region. So 2 words, sunny, cloudy, or rainy, and in 1 word how you're feeling. Please go ahead. We'll give you 1 minute to do this, and let's see how the group feels. Let me open the chat. Rainy. Okay. Good and sunny. Great. Melachat is great and sunny. Good, good. Okay, maybe you can also add where you are located so that we know which city you are in. Aliona, great and sunny. Yeah, Ben, so we know it's rainy here. Robert is feeling connected. Yeah, I have a lamp directly into my face, so it's a feeling that it's sunny. Krasimir, excited, sunny in Sofia. Perfect. That's really good to hear. I'm a bit envious because it seems that it is sunny almost everywhere except in Ljubljana. Okay. Really good. Really good. Jasha Kral, excellent and rainy, of course, because Jasha is in Ljubljana also. Okay, Marcet is in Tirana. Good. Republic of Moldova. Okay. Welcome. Christina. Okay. Good. Welcome, Maya, also from Banja Luka. Aketa from Kosovo. Okay. And Christy, she's feeling busy. Okay. We know that. Okay. Really good. Thank you so much for sharing. That was just a short icebreaker that you could also use, in a face-to-face event or online in you're facilitating something. The icebreakers don't have to be, difficult to understand. They can just be easy, just to break the ice, essentially. Okay, good. So I think it's time that we move on into our content. So I will invite now Ivana to share her presentation. So Alexander, if you can just pass on the presenter rights to her, and we will start with the presentation.
Okay. Hello, everybody. So our main topic today is facilitation. My first question to you will be, after reading this statement, the facilitator impacts and guides the process, but does not give input on the content of a meeting. That comes from the participants. It's from one really nice book, Great Meetings. After reading this, I would just like to ask you, what do you think that facilitation is? Alexander, can you give us the question? It's an open question.
Okay, 1 second.
Okay, so this is the first time that you will get a question. It will be a poll. So we will send you the poll, and you will be able to write out your question, your answer.
David.
Yeah.
I cannot seem to do it if I'm not presenter.
Okay, then take your presenter rights back.
But her presentation will die.
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay.
Good. No worries.
Okay.
Okay, let me just load it. Okay, and it should be open.
Okay, so we have 2 minutes. Okay, what is facilitation?
What is facilitation? Yes. You can write your answers in the chat box. There is also the question.
Mm. All right. 1 minute left. Melachat also wrote in our chat box, so process management, enabling participation and making every participant heard. Really good. Nice.
Really good, yes.
Like textbook.
Christina, the art of moving a group. Oh, everybody are now writing.
Okay, good. Okay. Okay, Alexander, I think most of us did it. Perfect. So I think
there's 10 in progress, but only 3 finished.
Okay.
So hopefully the guys who are in progress will post their messages.
Okay.
There's 4 finished now, but
Okay.
it's
So we got some answers also in the chat box from
wait,
Christina. Yes,
let me see
Alexander.
what happens because this is like a pilot pool.
Yeah.
So it's
Cool.
interesting to see what will happen now. Okay, so maybe I can share the results with all the attendees. Let's try that.
That would be really nice to see.
Okay, I did click it, but I don't know if anything happened.
Not really.
Okay.
Not really.
Weird.
Okay. So let's see what others have said. Facilitation is the ability to intermediate discussion. Okay. Discussion between several participants and trying to bring to commune view on a specific topic. Also from a textbook, so no pressure for us. I see we have experts among us. That's really good. Good, difficult questions. So Marcel says the facilitation is to give others what to learn so that can change their world. Also, yeah, a bit philosophical, but I do agree with that. Good. Boriana says moderating a meeting, shaping it. Okay, good. Okay, thank you so much. You can see it in the chat box also. Maya says enabling participants to reach a common goal or specific objective in a reasonable time frame. That's really important, the reasonable time frame. That's why we are here today also, to talk about how to facilitate. We don't have a full week for each question. Okay, thank you so much. Okay, Ivana, I think.
Thank you. Can I get back the presenters, right? Right, please, Alexander. Okay, thank you. Okay, so we could see that there are a lot of experts among us. Beyond the things that you write, the facilitation, it's also the things that are written here. So to make the group interactions easier, it helps groups and organizations to identify and most important to resolve difficult issues. Also, it provides tailored solutions to a tailored needs. So it's there are some techniques that are appropriate or inappropriate, but never wrong and right. And facilitation is always based on perception. So it's really not exact science. So I would like to think of the facilitation is the playing the piano. You can practice the piano for years, learning new skills, pieces, exercises, and gaining confidence. But when people want to sing happy birthday at the party, knowing that starting note of the song is comfortable for the majority of people to being able to start singing together. So by this same token, the basics of facilitation make really big difference in how well groups work together. So somehow the definition of the facilitation, it will be this. It's the process where a facilitator guides the group members in a meeting to share ideas, opinions, experiences, and expertise in order to achieve a common goal and agreeable action plan. which is really important. On our next slide, we have another question for you. So we would like to know what is your facilitating experience. So Alexander, should we try it with the pool once more?
Yeah, I'm gonna try.
Good.
Let's see.
This time it will be an ABC question, so a bit easier. So you will be
Okay, I'm gonna open it now. So let's start.
good.
So here we have the answers. What is your facilitation experience? A, I am a beginning.
Okay.
B, I have
Now we can
some.
see now we will probably be able to see the results. Do you guys see the results changing, like the percentage on the questions? Or
Not
no?
yet, but
No.
so I am beginning.
Okay.
I have some experience. I'm quite good, and I have a lot of experience.
Because I can see them updating by how participants are voting. So at the moment we have 8 votes on B, which is I have some. So this is 24%, and there is 12%. 4 of them I'm beginning. There is 1 in the C and D as well so far.
That's I am at C.
Okay, then we have 2 on C now. Mm, there's still 13 not answered.
Okay, just choose one.
Uh,
If you feel that you are beginning in facilitation, it's A. If you have done some, all of you, I believe, have facilitated before, because it's almost impossible not to facilitate if you have meetings.
There's only 9 left to vote. We are getting great votes.
Okay, good.
Okay.
So far, the answer B is winning.
Okay. Maybe you're just being modest.
And the A answer is trailing right behind with 21%. 7 of the 33 are beginning.
Okay, good.
Let's wait for 10 more seconds.
Perfect. Well, if you look at this question, it is designed so that everybody could find yourself, and if you do not know what your experience is, you just pick B. I have some experience.
Yes.
You should always give a option like that to participants. It is important to give them an option so that they don't feel like stressed out because they don't know the answer. So that's good.
The time is up. So
Yeah, just 1
Alexander?
second. I will try to share the results to see if this will now work. Okay, I shared them. Do you guys
Perfect.
can
It
see?
works, yeah.
Okay, really
Yeah.
good.
Okay, great.
So we have 24% of I'm a beginner. I have some experience, 36%. I'm quite good, 9%, nice. I have a lot of experience, 2%, and no answer. 2% and 6%, and no answer, 8. So maybe the next time the people who answer D can have also join us to prepare a webinar together.
Good. Perfect.
Okay. Thank you a lot for this. Alexander, can I get back the presenter rights? Okay. Okay, so now I just wanted to talk a little bit about the balance that effective facilitators, how the effective facilitators balance their focus. The main dimensions that they focus on are results, process, and relationships, which are happening in the classroom. So the results, main questions that can be answered here are the results of high quality at the end of the meeting or a session? Are the results timely? So were we on track of time? Do the results meet our expectations? So usually in a lot of our face-to-face workshops, at the beginning of the workshop, we always try to set up some joint expectations. So then throughout the training, we can measure the results and see if with the content, the design of the workshop, we met your expectations, which is quite important, not just for that particular training, but also for the future trainings, as it offers us a lot of lessons learned and insight on what works good and what does not. The other thing that the facilitator should keep focus on is the process of facilitation or of the whole meeting or a workshop. So the main questions here will be, is the process clear and logical? Is the process efficient? And is it the process appropriate to the task or to the objective that we want to achieve? Also, really important in the whole facilitation, it's the relationships between the facilitator and the participants, between the participants themselves, and also between the lecturers and the participants, of course. So the main questions that we can ask here: do I feel supported? Do I trust the other group members? And am I supportive and trustworthy? So I will just point out here that trust is a key basic concept if we want to establish a really safe environment and a good group dynamics, so we can then share more things and be open. And the next, we prepared another question, which is, what are the characteristics of a good facilitator? Alexander, can I ask you?
Yes, I'll add them. Just 1 second. This is the third question.
Yes, question number 3.
Okay, and it starts now. So you should be able to see pull.
You have it again on your right. We offered you a few possibilities. So A, ability to listen, ability to maintain a sense of humor. The facilitator should give his own opinion. The ability to deal with complex issues simultaneously. The ability to hear different point of views, and the ability to enforce the ground rules. So here we offer you a few answers, and they are not all correct. So 2 answers are not correct, or
so it's multiple choice. Just
yes.
pick the ones that you think are applicable, or the ones that are not. Let's see. Yeah, so to help you, 2 are not correct, so choose wisely the 2 that are not correct. Hopefully you can all see the poll. If not, please write again in the chat. I saw that Boriana didn't see the poll.
It should automatically appear on the right side. If not, then you can click on the chat icon next to the bubble, which actually displays the in the video section. There are the bubbles.
Okay, so
she managed to fix it. Nice.
Okay.
We have quite some votes. There's only 10 more answers or 13 more answers left.
Okay.
So let's wait.
So if I look at the...
Sorry, I was choosing my answers, but I lost the window, so I couldn't submit it.
Okay, maybe look at the right side of this window, and maybe there is down. You need to click on polling, maybe.
Polling? I can't. I see the chat window.
Only chat. Okay, then.
Yeah, I have the chat.
Maybe you
polling and the options, and I was just about to finish it and submit it. It disappeared.
Maybe you accidentally submitted and it just then
I
disappeared.
don't know.
Yeah,
Okay.
I
could
don't
be
know.
that. Could be
Could be.
that.
Okay. Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you for pointing it out. Rahat. We'll have more questions, so more chance to participate.
Okay, so 3 more seconds and then we'll share the results. Or so.
So here is it,
We'll just
and the results are.
wait. It
Like
gives me
Eurovision.
10 more seconds to wait. Yeah, the results are, but this time, okay. Um, I'm gonna share the results now. You should be able to see it.
Okay. So
Okay.
the the answers which it's good not to apply them in when you're facilitating a group. It's not to give your own opinion and not to enforce the ground rules. Actually, it's good not to enforce anything. It's just conversation, and then everybody will have to agree on the same ground rules. So, can I ask you, Alexander, for the presenter's rights again?
Okay, Ivana, can I just add something?
Yes, David.
So it is hard not to give your own opinion. It is really hard not to give your own opinion when you are an expert, and it is often that we are experts when facilitating also in meetings. Um, and ability to enforce the ground rules is a bit of a trick answer because a facilitator should not be enforcing. He or she should just be reminding, the group, this is your rules. We are here to follow them. We have agreed upon them. So we should not be, forceful. Okay, good. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Okay. At the next slide, we just added a few more characteristics that would make a facilitator a good one. So, besides of the listed ones, here we have confidence to deal with conflict. Between, because a lot of time when a lot of people are involved, it's really easy to come to a conflict. Then here is the ability to communicate because in the one meeting room or in one class, there are really different types of personalities. So the facilitator should have the ability to communicate with different types. A sense of humor and fun, it's always a good thing. Uh, then facilitator also has to hear different point of views, but at the same time he has to stay neutral, so not to take any sides, and of course, ability to create a comfortable and safe environment. So, how to become a good facilitator? Um, Together with David, we prepared a few tips and tricks which will maybe help you to facilitate your next meeting better. So, the first and really important tip is to prepare yourself. When with the facilitation, we're always aiming for a change. So, to change something after the meeting or the training, not the things not to stay the same. So in the objective of the meeting or of the session, we usually express the thing that we want to change or to achieve. As at the beginning of this webinar, David listed the main objectives of our session. Then identify the participants. So know your target audience, because these people are actually the change agents who will make the change happen. Uh, so here are the learning objectives, what we want to achieve, and then we design and develop the process of facilitating. The second tip, it will be guide the participants along their learning journey. It's really important for the facilitator to know his role, as we mentioned, to create a safe space. Uh, Also, it's quite important to include different views and to include all the participants, um, to help the participants reflect on their learning and to seek for feedback. In the next phases of this seminar, we will share with you some techniques and tools on how you can invite participation, help participants reflect, and of course seek for feedback. The third tip, it will be make everybody feel comfortable. So it's really important to get to know them. When they enter the room or when you're starting the meeting, just get to know your participants. It's really good if you use body language, which is like open gestures. Um, just be aware how you use your hands and how you move around the presentation space. It's important to make eye contact and, of course, demonstrate self-confidence. It's really also important to thank the organization and then thank the participants. So they should feel appreciation that they are part of the meeting that you are running.
Can I just add here?
Yes.
So a quick and really useful tip is just to, and I try to do it in all events, shake everybody's hands when they come in and introduce yourself, if that's possible. So if you have up to, I don't know, 20, 30 people coming, just get to know them personally, shake hands and introduce yourself. That really helps a lot.
Yeah.
It's really logical somehow. Right?
The thing which is helpful for me, let's say, I really like to send them some email, welcome email, or before the course or the meeting starts, so they get familiar with my name, with the things maybe that I do. And then when we meet in person, the contacting is established faster. I have this feeling. So you will at the end, everybody should find his own style, but these are just some tips that helps you um, open. Then tip number 3 is increase understanding. So it's important to increase understanding of each other and of the different views present in the room. If you use team building activities during your meeting, this is really helpful. Also, it's important to set the ground rules, uh, search for agreement, and of course agree to disagree, because it's almost impossible that everybody present in the room will agree on the same things. Um, tip number 3 tip number 4 is listen and observe. So active listening, it's a really big of a big importance, because this is really a way that you hear all the voices present, and also then offer a space for everybody to answer or to talk. So it's important to scan the room. Do not make assumptions. Always check for understanding. You can rephrase the answers for the participants if maybe somebody present in the room has not properly understand and doesn't want to ask, so you help them understand better. At the end, you summarize it and also write it down. So in this picture, I really love this quote, because I think that is putting the important things in a nice way that we can remember. So when you're facilitating, speak in such a way that others love to listen to you, and listen in such a way that others love to speak to you. So both speaking, communicating, and listening are really important. The next tip that I put is, again, listen actively. And here I have a picture of one technique, which is called listen technique. It's easy to remember because it's an acronym. So you look interested and you get interested. Then you involve yourself by responding. You always stay on track. You can test your understanding, evaluate the message, and neutralize your feelings. So this is a summary of the things that we shared in the previous slides.
Okay, can you just leave this up here for a moment?
Yes.
So look interested. What do you think? How would that look? Well, in my experience, it's quite easy. It's not easy to look interested. It's hard to really listen actively. So that would be looking in their eyes, nodding, saying, I understand," and so on. Involve yourself by responding, saying, okay, I understand that," and so on. So it is quite an easy process. Stay on target and test your understanding. That is by questions, essentially.
Yes.
Probing, asking, okay, I'm not sure that I understand well. Could you please repeat? You don't need to know anything about the contents to, listen actively. You can just use simple open questions to get more information. Evaluate the message, so try to make sure that the message has meaning for your meeting, or maybe it's a story that you don't need to hear right now because you have limited time. And neutralize your feelings. That's logical, if you're in a state that you're not able to understand the message, you maybe should wait a few minutes. Okay.
Thank you, David. So in the next slides, we will share a bit more question on how to achieve all of these things that are listed in the listen technique. So when we are facilitating a group or a meeting, it's really important to ensure that the group will at the end come up with a quality decisions. And the role of the facilitator is really big here. So he always reminds the group of decision deadlines. He reviews the criteria and supporting information. He's also keeping track on the decision-making process, and at the end, with the help, of course, of the participants, he reviews the decision. So at the end, we have a decision which is agreed by all present in the room. And then the next step, it will be after making a decision, ensure commitment to action. So the action is the important thing, because just with action we can make a change, and this is all about the process of facilitation is. So the facilitator should review objectives for each agenda items, to record decisions. After that, develop an action plan, and also ensure that the team leader will follow up. The follow-up process, it's important thing of the whole facilitation process. Okay. At the end, we listed a few specific facilitation behaviors or things that the facilitator should do to make the facilitation process easier. And this is setting ground rules, acknowledging contributions, probing, garnering participation, reflecting and clarifying, and resolving conflict. In the next slides, we just went really practical with the examples. So how you can set the ground rules. You can set the ground rules by opening like our purpose of today is, and then everybody who is there in the room can together define the purpose of the meeting. You can also define the ideal outcome. It's important to state that all opinions are welcome. And also here you have different things. And it's really, you can also state it that if you don't agree, you just put an issue or the thinking, the thought in the parking lot. We usually just on a flip chart write the sign P as a parking, and then in post-its write the questions which state unanswered or some issues that we don't agree. So we can resolve this in the later stages in the follow-up process.
Okay, Ivana, we have a question from Leona.
Thank you.
Who should set the ground rules? So maybe just to offer an answer, it should not, by all means, it should not be the facilitator. The facilitator can propose some options for the ground rules, but the group has to make the decision. This is really important to remember. So the facilitator is not the one making any decisions regarding content. he can, lead the process. So say, okay, we will do this in this technique. We have so much time available for this discussion. That is his job. That is his role. But he should not be making any important decisions because of ownership. So the group should make a decision. These are our ground rules that we will follow, and they should have the ownership of that. So that was why we had the questions. You, facilitator, does not enforce the ground rules
Yes.
because they're not his rules. He just reminds the group that you have set these rules. Please follow them. Okay, that
Yes.
would be a question.
The facilitator just guides the process to he proposed to set the ground rules and also guides the process of establishing some ground rules. But at the end, the rules always has to come from the participants, from the group which is facilitated and not from the facilitator. So uh, it's also important to acknowledge contributions of the participants. So you can, when somebody has some point, you can say that it's an excellent point. Uh, if somebody is taking too much time, you can say politely, I hear your point, but we have to move on. And also use this parking lot that I mentioned before. So if you don't have the time, if you're under a time pressure, just the things that you would like to discuss later, put it on a flip chart, and then you can discuss them later. And also, it's really important that participants feel your affirmation. So just try to find your style, your sincere answer, and you can just give them exactly great, thanks, you're right. So just affirmation, it's a really good thing to make some positive environment. Probing, the thing that David mentioned before, so how you test the understanding. We test usually the understanding uh, by probing. So please say more on this issue, or can you please say it in a different way? With these statements, the facilitator is actually helping the group to understand the problem statement better. Um, so you can find also your, let's say, some statements, but it's a good thing that you revise once more the things that were said, especially if a complex thought it was expressed, so you're sure that everybody present understands what was said. Um, then garnering participation. Uh, we before we mentioned that it's really important that facilitator gathers different views and gives space for everybody to speak, to say their own opinion. So it's here are some phrases you can just open it like, I'm curious to know what others think, because a lot of times you have one or two persons in the room which are leading the whole process or the whole conversation. So we can also politely invite others to contribute. Does anyone else have idea? Okay, we haven't heard from, let's say, David, and so on and so on. Okay, and reflecting and clarifying. Uh, this is also important because in this way you can summarize the things that were said before. So you can just summarize the things that you heard with your own words and then ask either the participants to help you or to summarize it instead of you. So just it's a good thing that we repeat the things once more that were said. And at the end, we listed a few ways how to resolve a conflict when the group doesn't agree on an issue. The first step is mediation. If there is a lot of tension between the participants, it's good that we allow them a time to cool off. We then we have to make the group agree to seek a solution and also to agree on one solution. And it's important that the facilitator, takes care that the group does not lose focus of the big pictures. Um, the facilitator then seeks understanding of different viewpoints. Um, the next step is brainstorming solutions. and of course at the end implement consensus solution and move on. So this is one short presentation of the main facilitation, let's say, rules or techniques, how to start facilitating and what kind of behaviors the facilitator should apply in the classroom. Now I will give the word to David, the word to David, so he can introduce us with some.
Thank you. Please leave this slide on, Ivana, or no problem. Just want to share my experience with conflict resolution while facilitating. It is one of the hardest things to do as a facilitator. I learned the hard way, like let's say about 6 years ago. I had a group of people working together, and we should be talking about communications with them, but they had very strong conflicts within the group. So we started, facilitating about communication, and the conflicts just emerged. What I learned from that, it was really hard to handle. We had 8 hours together. The next time I had a group, I set the ground rules. It's a really good tool to use. So if we come to conflict, what are we going to do? And then we agreed together with the group, okay, if it's not too big of a conflict, let's try to resolve it. Let's take 10 minutes and talk about it. If we see that it's maybe too deep, maybe too big, we agree when and how we are going to deal with it. So we postpone it to another time and place, but agree exactly when and who and how it should be done. So that's a good way to move on with your content, take the conflict, package it, and move it to another time. But it's really important to agree strictly who is going to be there on that second meeting while resolving the conflict. Okay. Good. Let us move on now. Alexander, I have the presenter rights. Perfect. I will share my presentation now with you guys. But first, I do have a question for you in chat. So I'm going to send it to everybody. The question is, do you think that facilitation is hard? And if you think that it's hard, why? Or if it's easy, why? 1 or 2, 3 reasons. So maybe take a minute to think about it. If you think that it is hard, why is it hard? Or if you think that it's easy, why is it easy? You can write in this chat room, and I will prepare my presentation.
Okay, so we received an answer from Marcet. It's hard for him. Why?
It is not an easy question, but
It's not an easy question. And for Tashkent, it's easy.
Okay, good. Yeah, we have seen that he is quite knowledgeable.
Yeah, with a lot of experience.
Ben
mentions you need an experience. Alexandru from writes to us that involves talent, knowledge, and improvisation. Yeah, I agree, and I would also put the improvisation as the top queen of the things that you mentioned here, because it's really important, but it's not really easy to improvise because you have to have a lot of experience and knowledge to be able to improvise.
Okay, good. Hard, impracticality, patience, aberration. There's not a common formula how to do it. That's true. Silvana says you have to be quite flexible as a facilitator. I do agree, but facilitation is an art. Melahat says I do agree also with that. But there are some tools that we can use. So we'll just quickly have an overview of 7 tips. So reason lack of interest when the participants are your former directors or employers, says Marcet. Okay, that's true. Tashkin says quick response, inspiring, innovative, and challenging. Okay, really good. So you're doing my job for me. I just need to ask questions, and that is facilitation essentially, I believe. So if you can ask good questions, you're a much better facilitator for it. So hopefully now you can see my presentation. Do you see it, Ivana? Okay, good.
Yes.
Perfect. Yeah, thank you. So let's go. This will be a short overview of 7 tips that are applicable to all facilitation techniques. So there are hundreds of facilitation techniques that you could be using. Some are really good, some are not that good. We'll have a look at some today. But the first one is, of course, to define the goal. So you should define the goal of each technique. So if I'm doing a brainstorming, I need to say to my participants what is the goal of this brainstorming. You know, you have designed your training, your meeting, and you tell them, okay, our goal is to find a solution how to better climate change, let's say. Okay, because talking about weather, or how to make it sunny in Ljubljana. So that would be the goal, to get the answer to this. But if we are brainstorming, my goal would be, you know, this goal of this activity is to get as many ideas as we can. So it is important to state what you are doing in a session or in a technique. The second one is one of the most important ones, I find, in my experience. So give really clear instructions step by step how it is going to work. We're going to do that for each of the techniques that we're going to have a look at. So step by step instructions, get them on PowerPoint, write them on the flip chart paper, and when you do that, make sure that everybody understands them. Okay, I have been facilitating professionally, let's say, for 8 years, and I still, you know, get in a position that I didn't explain when having like a new technique, explain the technique or the rules of it good enough. That's why it's really important to check with participants. So give again a quick overview. So in a few steps, tell them what the goal is again, and then ask at least, was that clear? Do you understand the process? Are any steps unclear, and so on. So really, you should do that every time, not only with techniques in facilitation as a whole, but with techniques and setting the, you know, the clear instructions. It's really important to check for understanding. Okay. Then one thing that many facilitators, as I observe, forget sometimes. I have written these tips in my experience. So is to define your role in this technique. So if you're again doing a brainstorming, you should tell the people what you will be doing and what you will not be doing. So they don't have expectations that the facilitator will do everything for them. So if you will be the one writing down ideas on a flip chart, then you should tell them, okay, you will be telling me ideas and I will be writing them down. And you should explain to them, okay, I will be asking questions or I will be keeping time, because if you're not doing that, somebody else will have to do it, and that would be your participants. You know, you can get a lot of help from them. That is one of the most important things that I have learned. You can get a lot of help from your colleagues or your participants in the classroom. So define your role so that they have the right expectations of what you will be doing. And then define their role. You know, with brainstorming, the most important is, you know, you should have as many ideas as you can. It's good if they write them down. all ideas are really good. And then maybe you get somebody to help you. Okay, can I ask you please to be a timekeeper? And you tell them how much time you have so that they remind you. Maybe you need a devil's advocate. So somebody, that will be in opposition to ideas. Maybe you need somebody to help you with note taking and so on. So first you define what you will be doing, and then you define the role of your participants. Okay, of course, keep people involved. How do we do that? Making sure that everybody had a chance to contribute. So allowing enough time for them to be able to contribute. So some silence is welcome, in facilitation. Also, when you're doing a brainstorming, at first you have many ideas maybe flying in. Okay, maybe we should get airplanes in the air that would like drive away the clouds, and we would have sun in Ljubljana. That's a crazy idea. Or maybe we should wait a few days and then it will be sunny. Maybe that's more applicable. So you have many ideas coming at the beginning, but then maybe it slows down. So you should keep some silence, wait for half a minute, that to let the more introverted people also speak out. We are different personalities. So then you just ask, would anybody else try to share, or you ask an individual? So I don't know, Yanis, would you like to share something with us? Because you are observing the group and you know that he hasn't spoken yet, maybe in this session. And the final one, keep the group on track. That just means that you're following the process that you have set. You're keeping your goals in focus. So if you are brainstorming, your goal is to get as many ideas as you can. So you keep them reminded of that, and remind them of the ground rules if they try to break them. So that should be part of every technique. And of course, keeping time is also quite important. Okay. So I will now share a poll with you. So this is the question. Try to remember the 7 tips to follow. Write down as many as you can. I have opened the poll, so you should see it now. Do you see it? Yeah? Some responses. Ivana, can you see the poll? No, I can't hear you.
Yes,
Okay.
I can see.
Perfect. Now try to just state in short words the 7 tips that we just went through. As much as you can remember. You can share 3 of them. You can share more, maybe 7, 8. So you see, we are trying to facilitate this webinar through questions also to get you involved. It is similar as face-to-face, but a bit more difficult doing it online. So good. We have 8 people in process, so 8 people are answering the question. We have 2 more minutes. You can also write in the chat if you wish, if that's easier for you. It doesn't matter as long as we get. Okay, we have a question here from Marcet, which I will answer shortly. Good. Let's see.
Okay.
So try to remember what were the 7 tips. You should see the poll question. You should be able to click. It says put your answer here or something like that. So you can click on it and just start typing. Okay, I'll give you another, let's say, 40 seconds for this. Okay. In progress, we still have 5 of you have finished, so that is something. Not 6 of you have finished, 6 still in progress. So let's say 20 more seconds. Okay, I will do a countdown. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, and 1. Okay, I will close the poll. So the poll will close in 20 seconds. I use the technique right now with counting down. You could hear that the seconds were not all the same length. You can call this facilitation seconds or facilitation minutes. It is always good to keep participants on time, but you can tell them, okay, you have 5 minutes for this, and then use your feeling if 3 minutes will be enough when you see how the activity is going, or maybe you extend it to 7 minutes. So that would be facilitation time keeping. You should always keep a bit flexibility here, because nobody will know if exactly 5 minutes is passed. So you should be flexible in this regard. Okay, let's see if I can get any poll results here. Not sure.
No.
But I would like to invite, if anybody would like to turn on their microphone, looking at these seven rules, now you can see how many you got right. But I would like to invite, if anybody wants to turn on their microphone, is there anything else that we should follow as facilitators when, trying to do a technique? Anybody? Okay. No? I want to add something.
No, I think that the question that Max had posted in the chat is important.
Yeah.
Should we always tell the participants what the next session will be about? I think that the insight of the things that follow are really good, because it gives you a safety. You can predict the future. You know what will happen. There are not any surprises. So my advice will be that yes. David, what do you think?
Yeah. I think that it depends. Usually, by rule of thumb, you should tell them what the next session would be about. But I have had sessions when it was beneficial in the facilitation process to keep it like a secret, So not to get their expectations maybe too high, so you should think about the expectations they have. So usually it's good to share the whole agenda, the whole session up front. That's how we usually do for meetings and for trainings. But I had some trainings that I didn't share the full agenda up front because the reason was, in one stage we were trying to get as many ideas as we could. And we didn't want to share the final goal so that they would really be, really out of the box. So that would be one of the times when you don't want to share the full session. So yeah, that would be my answer. Okay. Hopefully,
and also, I had once a creative workshop. It was also useful not to share everything, because afterwards we had a creative challenge, and we wanted to get their expression on the go. So that's why we did not share everything. It's just, I think that it has to be a reason behind why we are not sharing.
Okay, so I have the answers here. Somebody wrote, I think Tiasha, define goal, give clear instructions, check understanding, give clear instructions, define a role, define their role, keep people involved, keep the group on the track. So that would be mostly all of them. So good job, guys. Now let's get into it. Facilitation, six categories. I'm just going to fly through this. This is the categorization is not really important. It's just to give us, some structure. So one category would be group work, which is one of the most important things you can do as a facilitator, and it's really easy to implement in any meetings. So to get them working either 2 by 2, 3 by 3, 4 together, and so on. So we can use facilitation techniques in decision-making processes to generate new ideas. So one of them would be brainstorming that I use as an example. Then problem solving is one of the processes that uses facilitation techniques always. Well, good problem solving anyway. Then, if you want to encourage creativity, there are some special techniques for encouraging creativity. And then evaluation. So, to get some feedback, how the session is going, or to get some feedback on a certain idea. So this is quickly how I see the division of these techniques, but not to waste too much time on this. Let's go into a special one. I didn't mention it here, but I believe that icebreakers and energizers should be, a part of every meeting. I know that we get bored by them, and sometimes we don't understand why we should do them. But an icebreaker can be like a really simple thing. You can just walk into a room in a meeting and say, okay, what's the weather like? Let's talk about it for half a minute. And sometimes that's enough. You can just maybe tell a joke, or somebody else tells a joke. It's to break the social ice, as I call it. So just to get people thinking, laughing, talking a bit. That's the role of the icebreaker. So, do's and don'ts in icebreakers. Please be really careful and try to remember this, as I have a question coming up. So, the do's and don'ts. Let's do it. Icebreakers should be relaxing and fun. Okay, they should totally be relaxing. They should be in every meeting. That's my opinion. They should have something, an activity that connects the participants, and they should be, mindful of cultural differences, maybe some topics that should be avoided. So, to keep them relaxing, we should avoid some difficult, topics. The don'ts. In our environment, or in business environment, they should not be too personal. So if you are talking about personal things, the participants should always have a chance not to talk about too much of personal things. So you should be mindful how to set up the question. And they should not be too long and too complex. Okay, let's now go with the question. I'll be opening a poll now. So it is open. You have A, B, C, and D. So, icebreakers should be relaxing and fun, should be personal, should be quite long, should be connecting all participants. Let's see how you do. Okay, we have 7 of you, 10 of you have finished, 11, okay, that's really good. Let's wait for another half a minute so that we get the answers in. Okay, 15 answers, that's really good. 17, okay. Okay, so we have 20 answers. I think that's a record for today so far. Really good. And you are doing a good job. Okay, I will close the poll in a few seconds now. So let's see the results. Do you see the results now?
Yes.
Yeah, perfect. So they should be relaxing and fun. They should be connecting all the participants. These are the 2 main rules that you should follow. Not too personal, and by all means, they shouldn't be long. No more than, let's say, about 15 minutes. It depends on the meeting. You can have a half an hour icebreaker, energizer, but let's say a 15 minutes or 10 minutes is a good rule to follow. Okay, let's see just quickly some icebreakers that you can use. We will share this PowerPoint presentation with you, so we can just copy paste it and use them in all of your meetings. Again, categories, not that important, but you have auditory, so icebreakers that the people are talking or listening to each other. Maybe some visuals, so they are working with pictures or drawing something, or kinesthetic that involves like moving in space. So 3 different categories again to give us some structure. The first one is 3 points interview. It's an easy icebreaker. You don't need any materials. You can just always do it. So you ask participants to think about three things up front. So who am I? So they will share with others their name, where they come from, quickly who they are. So then they will share with others the second point, what do I do? What's my job? What are my hobbies? And the third point, to share their dream holiday. So if you had unlimited time and unlimited money, what would be your dream holiday destination? Then you ask them to talk in pairs. So one of them is listening, the other one is talking, like an interview style. And then after 2 minutes, you as a facilitator give them a sign. Okay, please find another person, find another colleague, and share again. And you can do that for 4 to 7 rounds. Okay, my question to you is, please share in the chat box what is your dream holiday destination. Okay, so quickly, just 30 seconds, write down something. Mine would be okay, Bali, Cuba, Japan, Paris, Bora Bora, great. Mine is biking in mountains of Turkey. I really want to go there with my bike. Hollywood Studios, interesting. Australia, Cuba, South America. Okay, so Silvana, you will need unlimited time to go through all of the South America. Africa Photo Safari from Anna. Okay, really good. So this is a really cool icebreaker. You can run it for 5 minutes or 10 minutes, So, and it can work in every meeting, even in a smaller meeting in your organization. Okay, good. What do you think? Which category is this? Is auditory, kinesthetic? Yeah, it's auditory. They will be talking and also moving, so it's also a bit kinesthetic. Okay, the second one, quickly, is me in a picture. If you have been at CEF events, you might have done this icebreaker already. So you need some materials, but they're really easy to come by. You can buy, a game with some pictures, or you can just get pictures, random pictures out of magazines, newspapers, and use them for this icebreaker. The instructions are for your participants. Here is lots of pictures here on the ground or on this table. Please stand up, have a look at them, and choose a picture that best represents you. And that's the first step. You can also go the other way and choose a picture that best represents this group or this team. Okay, so you have two options here. Then, when they choose the pictures, you're going to give them a few minutes. You ask them to share with colleagues why the picture represents them or their group. Here you have two options. If you have a smaller group, so let's say, I would say up to 15 people, they can share, everybody shares with everybody. That's a 15-minute process then. If you have a bigger group, you just use the same process as before. Get them talking in pairs or in 4 together, and then just change these groups around. It's quite an easy process. Okay, good. Let's go on. The third one is a totally kinesthetic one. It's a sociometer. You just give your group, you get them to stand up, and then give them instructions. Okay, please form a line according to the day of your birth. So you should do it without years, no, not to get anybody in a position of not wanting to reveal their age. So only the day and the month, or depending on the shoe size, or height, or anything like this. You can also get them to move in the room and find a position according to their countries or their city. So you should just tell them this is north, this is south, east, and west, and then they should position themselves. We have done this in Bohinska Bistrica, if you remember, the ones that were there. Or you can write down some ideas on flip charts, put them in different corners of the room, and ask them, please position yourself closest to the idea closest to you. So then they position themselves according to their views or to their opinions, so that you get like a picture of the group really quickly. It's a really short icebreaker, it's you can use it between sessions also. So yeah, I encourage you to use icebreakers. You can find millions of them online, or you can write to me and we can have a conversation on email. I have some ideas. Okay. So that was the question. Group work. The most important skill set for any facilitator is to get people to work in groups. It's not per se a special technique, and you can always like pull it out of your sleeve when working with groups. So it's really good to incorporate working in pairs. What I usually do in trainings, I give a question. So I don't know what would be the best way to fix public transport. Let's say we all have, I think, this difficulty, and I ask participants, please think about it on your own. And after a minute, I get them to share their ideas with their neighbor. That's working in pairs. It is really easy process, but it's really powerful. Then you can be working in smaller groups. We will look at the technique World Cafe, which is one of the best techniques to use as a facilitator. I will share with you why a bit later. And you can also involve the whole group, and have a discussion with them. So the first technique for working first in pairs is pyramiding. You don't need to read this right now, so I'll just move back. Is pyramiding. It means that they start by talking 2 by 2 for an easy question. What's the weather like outside? They can talk 2 by 2, and maybe why is the weather like this? Then you form bigger groups, so 4 together, and give them next round of questions. And then you can even go on and form even a bigger group, so 8 together this time, and they should find some solutions. They will be pyramiding. You can read about it more later on. Okay, so the World Cafe. Some of you might know this. It's really good because it works for small or large groups. It's really flexible. You can make it to work for your facilitation. It addresses more questions at the same time. So time-wise, this is really effective. So I would encourage you to use World Cafe when you have different questions on the same topic to be answered or to explore different ideas. This is one of the best facilitation techniques to use. I use it all the time. It's really good because with these techniques, everybody has a chance, or everybody is almost a bit forced to add to all the questions. So everybody has a chance to add some of their opinions to every question that you put out there. And it is totally effective and flexible. You have some links in here. So one of them is a cool YouTube video, a few minutes, and you will know enough to run World Cafe. And then you have also the website, the World Cafe, which explains everything about this technique. Okay, how it actually works. So if I try to quickly draw something here, hopefully you'll be able to see this. Let's see. Okay. If you have, let's say, 3 groups of people, let's say about 6 participants in each table, these are tables, you give them question or idea number 1, idea number 2, and idea number 3. It's the best to have, let's say, 3 ideas. Then you have one special participant per table, and that would be like the table facilitator or the leader. And that's the one that always stays at this table. It is really important to have this participant because all of the others that are around the tables, okay, it disappeared. My bad. All of the others that are around the tables will have to move so that they see all of the questions. So 1, 2, 3. One participant always stays there. That is really important, an important rule. And all others in, I don't know, 20 minutes, they switch places. Or you can just have 5 minutes or 10 minutes, depends on how difficult the questions are. And you are circling, so you have 3 rounds of 10 minutes, and in half an hour, you can have lots of ideas and everybody participating. That would be, let's say, for up to 20 people. But again, if you have more people, just have, the other 3 tables with the same questions. And if you have even more people, so you can go almost unlimited. Again, you have another 3 tables, again, with the same 3 questions. Okay, hopefully that was explained well enough. Excuse me for my drawing, it's not too good, but that is World Cafe. Okay, so my question to you, what is the main feature of the World Cafe? I will now send it to you. Okay, what is the main feature of the World Cafe? It is very fast, solves one problem, addresses more questions at once, is only for small groups. Okay, we have 9 of you answering already. Really good. 11 answers. Okay, I'll leave it up for 20 seconds more. So try to answer quickly. Okay, we have 1 answer for B, solves one problem. For A, it is very fast. Okay, half of you have answered already, so in 10 seconds I'll be closing this question. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Okay, let's see the results. So to comment, yes, it can be very fast, especially if you have like 3 difficult questions. This could be a really quick process. If you have a discussion, it could really, get out of hand. It solves one problem. It can solve one problem, but it usually can solve different questions at once, so different problems. And it's not only for small groups. It can be almost unlimited. The final thing that you do with this is, of course, each group then, when the participants return to their first table, they present quickly their ideas. Okay, let's go on. Okay, discussion. These are some specific, pointers how to lead a discussion. I will move on because we have a time limit, but, be free to read it out. It's not only 4, it's actually 6 different tips how to run a discussion with the whole group. Okay, idea generation is the next category. We all know brainstorming. You might know mind mapping. You might not know Scamper. So idea generation is to get as many ideas as we can. Usually there are 3 things that we should do. All ideas are welcome, so we should get multiple ideas on a flip chart or somewhere written down. So we should record these ideas, not lose them. So they should be written down. And then when we have all of these ideas, it's really good to make a system out of it. So to group them and to rank them, maybe. So to say, okay, this one is much more applicable. Let's go ahead with this one. Okay. Ivana, can I ask you just to silence your microphone? Okay, good. So I will not go into brainstorming or mind mapping. You have links here, so please feel free later on when we share this PowerPoint to click on them. They're really cool idea generation techniques. I will just explain quickly reverse brainstorming. It actually is similar to brainstorming, but maybe a bit different, because it is trying to focus on that people, we usually quickly find problems and not so quickly solutions. So that's why reverse brainstorming can have a good effect. and it's easily, we have to define the problem in any case. And then in reverse brainstorming, we have two options. Either we flip the problem and finding solutions, but for me, a better way is like this. We define a problem, and I will share an example with you. And then we think about what we can do totally wrong or how we can make it worse. Okay? And people I found are really good at thinking about this. How to make it worse, how to make it really bad. And this is really good for this technique. Then in the next step, you look at all of the ideas, how to really make it bad, and just write the opposite. And this is how we get good ideas how to solve the problem actually. Then, of course, it is really important to choose 3 or 5 ideas you would like to develop further. So this is the final step. Okay, let's see an example. How we can make public transport better. So now I would ask you to think quickly how you can make it worse, how to make it really wrong, you know. When you would have some ideas about public transport, so my idea would be, okay, let's have less trains, less buses, let's not allow people to use, let's say, bicycles, let's make it really expensive. Let's have much more cars on the streets, you know, and so on. That would be like how to make it worse. Then you write down the opposites, and then we choose 3 to 5 ideas that we would like to develop further. You can choose ideas, have a discussion with your group, which ideas are the best, or simply give them some stickers, small stickers, write down the ideas on a flip chart and ask them to vote. So they can put their stickers next to the ideas they like best, and then that's the ideas you can develop further. Okay, creativity. I'm rushing along as we have a time limit. So I just wrote down 5 great techniques. The first one, we will look at it. It's Walt Disney. Then there is the bonus 6 thinking hats, which is really cool to use. I really will encourage you to have a look at it and use it. The easiest one maybe is random stimulation. Just quickly read about it. You will know what it is about. You just, when thinking about ideas, you have some random words chosen or some, you know, random objects that stimulate your thinking further. It is really cool and easy to use. And this, the second two, the fourth and the fifth, are a bit more complex. Lotus Blossom is a really cool one if you have enough time. And if you have like a difficult problem to solve, this is really good to use. And Future Search, if you have a full day or even more days to think about the future of a problem, you should use this. But my favorite one is the Disney method. Essentially, it lets people to think about the problem or an idea in 3 different ways: as a dreamer, as a realist, or as a critic. So the first one is a dreamer. In this stage, you can work in smaller groups or the whole group together as you want. So group work is important here also. You see the connections. To share ideas without restraint or criticism. So then you have a few questions that could be asked in this dreamer stage. What do we want to do? What is the solution? How can we imagine without any restraint the solution? So this is the most important question. What are the benefits of applying this solution? So you should go big, out of the box in this stage. The realist, the next stage, is to turn the imaginary ideas into manageable action plans. So what can we do with this? So the question would be, how can we apply this in reality? You know, if we have funding, if we have resources, what would be the action plan? What would be the timeline? And how would we actually know that the idea is working? So how would we evaluate this? The critic is the one that really critically looks at the idea. So looks at what are the barriers, what is missing, why can't we apply it? So, you know, you go a bit into the negative here. What are the weaknesses of the plan? Okay. So what do you think? Which is the right one? Just you can answer in the chat box. what is the correct sequence for the Disney method. Is it realist, critic, dreamer? Is it dreamer, realist, critic, or is it critic, dreamer, realist? So 1, 2, or 4. Okay, somebody says 2. Yeah, 2. Okay, really good. So yeah, it's simple. So you should just, it's a really simple method to run because, you know, it's self-explanatory. Dream about it, try to be realistic, and now try to look at it critically. Good. Watch the YouTube video here. It's really, you know, quite straightforward, and you also have some other resources here. Decision making and problem solving. I'll just skip this. It is if you look on the internet, you have like 4 steps, 5 steps, 6 or 7 steps. For me, the most logical is a 6-step process. So define a problem or an idea, find the root causes for a problem, get ideas for a solution, choose solutions, implement them, and then review them. This is really, you know, it can be a complex process. I will just later on share an example with you. Defining a problem, that's one of the categories. You could just go by plus and minus in an idea or a problem, you know, what would be positive to do, what are the negatives of it. You can do a SWOT analysis. I think that most of you know it. The most interesting for me is the 5 whys because it is the most simple one, and I will explain it to you. And then the one that is really used a lot is the fishbone Ishikawa diagram. Have a look at it, read about it. I used it many times. The 5 why is really simple. Let's have a look at an example. Ice cream in the refrigerator is melting. So you ask yourself why the first time. It is melting because the refrigerator is not working maybe. And then because this is not the root cause probably, you ask yourself again why. The refrigerator is not working because the electricity is not in the house. Then you ask yourself why again. Electricity is in the house because, you know, the supply was cut somewhere. Or maybe there could be another reason. The electricity is not in the house because, you know, we don't have electricity in the city. Why again? Because we are on solar power. And why again? Because it's a rainy day in Ljubljana and we don't have solar power to run our refrigerators and we don't have ice cream now. Okay, that would be the root cause. Why the ice cream is melting? Because there is no sun and we only have solar power for our refrigerator. So that was a quick example. It is a really cool, it could also be a really fun way to find what are the causes for the problems. Okay, so this would be a quick example of a facilitation process to, let's say, try to tackle a problem. So defining a problem, you could use pyramiding that we explained before. Finding the root cause, you could use 5 whys. Then finding ideas or solutions for the causes, you could use reverse brainstorming. To develop solutions, you know, you choose some solutions, you could use the Disney method, and then to get to an implementation plan for each solution, you could use the World Cafe. So this is a quick, you know, how I would do a process of, let's say, tackling a problem. Okay, evaluation, and let's try to be quick about it. We're a bit late. Ivana, please.
Yes. Alexander, can I get the presenters right? Right. Okay. Can you see the presentation? Just
not yet. Maybe you need to share the screen.
Just a second.
Okay, now it's working.
Okay. So because we are out of time, I will just quickly guide you to a few techniques that we can do evaluation, because it's a really important process and it allows us to learn from our experiences. It's not just to get a feedback how everything went, but also we can get a good insight of what our target audience needs and what was done good, which were the lessons learned, and it would help us design much better the next meeting or the session that we would have. Okay, so we can evaluate after each session, daily, at the end of the meeting, training, or as a follow-up. As a follow-up, I usually would like to make for my workshops collective evaluation where everybody gets some poll or questionnaire to survey to fill in, and also I really like to do interviews. Then I will call some of the participants or meet them for a short coffee, and then I will just talk to them to get a greater insight of and deeper understanding of how they felt, what was their main goal to be there, and what they take out of the session. So it's really the interview is more emotional, so you can get really good feedback how everything went. So the three techniques that we have here are actually really easy to use, and one is body map. So as you can see here at the grill, you have different statements. So we usually use it with post-it notes, and we ask participants to write something that made them think, something that they enjoyed in, something they will take with them home, and something that it was not that useful. While evaluating, it's really good to get both aspects, so positive and negative. So don't be afraid of the negatives because it will just help you develop your next training or session better. Other interesting technique are the 4 Fs. So you ask the participants at the end to write you facts. So what happened just in the meeting or in the classroom, feelings, how they felt, findings, what was new for them, what is the concrete learning that they took out of the meeting, and at the end, at future, what they will use in the future, which information will stick with them for the future. This is the evaluation tool that we will use it in a while. And another tool, it's 5-finger feedback. So you can just ask the participants to draw their hand on a piece of blank paper, and then the thumb represents what they liked best. The point finger is what they want to point out. The middle finger is like the middle finger when you show it in real life, so I didn't like this. And the ring finger, because we usually wear the jewelry on the ring finger, so it's what was the thing that you will take home, what is the jewelry from this experience, uh, and the pinky finger, the little finger, is what I missed here. So also something that they would like to add and you can incorporate for your next meeting. Okay, so in shortly, these are the 3 tools that maybe you can take with you and then use it for your meetings or whatever. And we can also share link with you to another techniques and tools, so then you can choose yours. Um, okay.
All right, good. So Alexander, if you can just give me back the presenter rights, and we will finish up here now in a few minutes. So I will just share my screen. Let's see, screen 2. Okay. So what's for the end of this uh, webinar, I would like to ask you for some feedback. So we will do an evaluation quickly with the 4 Fs. So if you can write in chat, take a minute of your time and write in the chat what will be some facts that you would take away, what was your feeling with this webinar, what are some new findings for you, or maybe how you can use this knowledge in the future. So just take a minute. You can write it in just 4 words quickly, so that just to get a quick feedback from you guys. The ones that were with us in Bohinska Business, so you already know this. Ram did this with you, and it's a really good technique to get some evaluation. So let's take a minute. I would put some music if we were in a classroom right now. So that is also a good facilitation tip. Use music whenever people are doing something. Turn on some music, and then it is a really good way to tell them the time is up. You just turn off the music and something changes in the room suddenly. So they know that the time is up. Okay, let's have a look at the chat room. Okay. So,
Okay.
Christian, fact facilitation is a very important part of a meeting. Yeah, I can agree with that. Okay. Melachat again. It is an art. I do agree. Facilitated is an art. So the feeling from
Christian, I feel that I will be much better. Wow,
okay.
this is really good.
Aliona, facts. It is a necessary process. Yeah, agreed.
Yes.
From my experience, we have when you say we will do a moderation or facilitation, people get a bit scared because they think it will take a lot of time. Well, actually, I think it is quite the opposite. If we prepare a good facilitation, we will use less time, and more importantly, we will have more chances to get to the goal. So as it takes some time to prepare and to implement, I think it is worth it. Findings from Christian, I found a lot of new useful techniques. Marset, great experience, more confidence what to use, how to interact, ways to interact, tips to session timings. Good. Leona, findings, new techniques of facilitation. Okay, really good. Reverse brainstorming. Good, Narahat. We can maybe use it in our event. Okay. So with this, you can keep on filling it in. We will try to record these facts, feelings, findings, put them on one slide together, and send it out to you. So still we have to moderate the events. We have to get emotional feedback from participants through techniques for facilitation. Okay, very good. I'm glad. This is good feedback, I believe.
Yes, me too. I'm really glad. Thank you.
It is true that this techniques with 4 Fs is really into the positives. So if you have something that we should do differently, please let us know, either via email or in the chat room. Anyway, from my side, I would like to thank you for being a part of it. I did have fun, which is a good thing if a facilitator has fun. And I will let Ivana finish off.
Thank you also from my side. It was really nice meeting you. Hopefully, we will continue meeting like this in the future on a more regular basis. So maybe in our follow-up process, I can circulate a small poll between you, and we can find out which subjects are interesting for you, and we will try to prepare some sessions also in the future. So if you have any questions, or if you want to give us some comment, just write to my email or to David's email or to anybody of CEF colleagues. And we're always glad to hear from you, and many thanks for everything.
Okay, bye-bye. Enjoy it.
Have a sunny month because of you.
Bye-bye.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Okay, Alexander, when we are